She thought she owned the neighborhood, but her pen was no match for justice. By the end, her reign of petty tyranny would crumble under the weight of her own arrogance. In the quiet suburb of Willow Creek, where manicured lawns and picket fences define the landscape, everyone knew Margaret Maggie Hensley. She wasn't the HOA president, but she acted like it, patrolling the streets with a clipboard and a smirk, ready to pounce on any infraction, real or imagined. Her latest target? Private First Class Daniel Carter, a 24-year-old soldier fresh from deployment, who had parked his military-issued Humvee in the community center lot while visiting his ailing mother. Maggie, with her self-appointed authority, saw the rugged vehicle as an eyesore, a blemish on her pristine vision of Willow Creek. Without a shred of evidence or actual HOA jurisdiction, she slapped a handwritten $200 fine on the Humvee's windshield, citing unauthorized parking in her looping, sanctimonious script. Daniel, still adjusting to civilian life after months in a war zone, found the note after a long day at his mother's bedside. His jaw tightened as he read it, the absurdity hitting him like a stray bullet. A fine? For parking in a public lot? He scanned the lot, empty except for a few sedans, and spotted Maggie lingering nearby, watching him like a hawk. Her smug grin fueled his frustration, but he kept his cool, tucking the note into his pocket. He'd dealt with worse than nosy neighbors overseas. Still, the audacity Stuna soldier fined for serving his country, by a woman who'd never known sacrifice. Maggie's campaign didn't stop there. She escalated as she always did. By the next morning, she'd rallied her small posse of loyalist retirees with too much time and too little empathy. They plastered flyers around the neighborhood, decrying the military monstrosity, ruining their curb appeal. Maggie even posted a rant on the community's online forum, calling Daniel a disrespectful outsider who thought his uniform excused him from rules. She didn't know or didn't care that Daniel had grown up in Willow Creek, that his mother, Ellen, was battling cancer, or that the Humvee was his only transport while on leave. To Maggie, it was all about control, and she reveled in it. Daniel, though, wasn't one to back down. He'd faced ambushes in desert outposts. A self-righteous busybody was no match. He confronted Maggie at the next community meeting, held in the same center where his Humvee was parked. The room buzzed with tension as he stood, holding up her crumpled fine. "This isn't an HOA lot," he said, his voice steady but sharp. "You have no authority to fine me or anyone. Why are you targeting me?" Maggie, perched at the front like a queen, scoffed. "Rules are rules," she snapped. "And that tank of yours is an eyesore. If you don't like it, move." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Even her allies shifted uncomfortably. Daniel's eyes narrowed, but he didn't raise his voice. "I serve this country, ma'am. I park where I'm allowed. You don't get to play judge." The room erupted. Neighbors who'd long tolerated Maggie's overreach began whispering. Sarah Gwynn, a single mom who'd once been fined by Maggie for her son's basketball hoop, stood up. "She's been doing this for years, making up rules, bullying people. It's not just Daniel." Another neighbor, old Mr. Thompson, chimed in, recounting how Maggie had threatened to tow his vintage truck for aesthetic violations. The meeting spiraled into chaos as grievances poured out, each one a brick in the wall of Maggie's misdeeds. She doubled down, shouting about community standards and ungrateful residents. But her voice was drowned by the crowd's rising anger. The confrontation reached its peak when Ellen, Daniel's mother, wheeled herself into the room, frail but fierce. The crowd fell silent. Ellen's voice trembled, not with weakness but with rage. "My son risks his life for this country, and you, Maggie, dare to harass him over a parking spot? You've been terrorizing this neighborhood for too long." She revealed a stack of papers complaints filed against Maggie over the years, from petty fines to threatening letters, all ignored by the real HOA because Maggie wasn't even an official member. She'd been operating as a rogue enforcer, forging documents and intimidating residents into compliance. The revelation hit like a grenade. Maggie's face drained of color as the crowd turned on her, their murmurs now a roar of indignation. The fallout was swift and merciless. Daniel, with Sarah's help, filed a formal harassment complaint with the local police, attaching Maggie's fake fine and screenshots of her online rants. The HOA, embarrassed by the scandal, launched an investigation, uncovering a trail of Maggie's fabricated rules and unauthorized notices. Neighbors came forward with stories of her intimidation fines for unapproved mailbox colors, threats to tow cars for minor scratches, even a campaign against a family's vegetable garden. The evidence piled up, each piece a nail in the coffin of Maggie's reign. The police issued a restraining order, barring her from contacting Daniel or his family. The HOA, under pressure, sent her a cease and desist letter, threatening legal action if she continued her vigilante antics. Maggie's world unraveled. Her allies deserted her, unwilling to be tainted by association. The online forum, once her soapbox, became a battleground where residents exposed her lies. Her own neighbors shunned her, their once polite nods replaced by cold stares. Maggie, who'd thrived on control, found herself powerless, her name synonymous with pettiness and shame. She tried to defend herself, posting a tearful apology video, but it was too late. The community had seen her for what she was, a bully hiding behind a clipboard. Her house, once a symbol of her dominance, became a prison of her own making, as she avoided the streets she'd once patrolled. Daniel, meanwhile, found unexpected support. Neighbors rallied around him, offering meals for his mother and words of gratitude for his service. Sarah organized a fundraiser to help with Ellen's medical bills, and the community center lot became a point of pride, with residents parking there in solidarity. Daniel didn't gloat. He didn't need to. Justice had been served, not by his hand, but by the truth Maggie had tried to bury. He drove his Humvee with quiet dignity, a reminder that some battles were won not with force, but with resilience. Maggie's downfall was a bitter pill, one she'd brewed herself. She'd underestimated the community's strength, mistaking their silence for weakness. Now, as she faced potential lawsuits and the weight of her own disgrace, she was left to stew in the wreckage of her ego. The neighborhood, freed from her shadow, began to heal, its unity forged in the fire of her defeat. What do you think? Did Maggie deserve her fate, or was the community too harsh? Share your thoughts on where justice lies in this clash of power and pride.